Hello friends, welcome to Toy Cafe. I am your host, and in this video I'm putting together this little room that I made. It is a bare room at this point, but I thought it was kind of unique and I did make it completely from scratch, so I thought I'd share it with you and let you know how I did it and what I did, and you can let me know what you think of it. So we're starting out by cutting some 1/4-inch foam board. That's going to be the base for this whole room. And while we're cutting that, I'll explain what I was after with the design. What I wanted to create was something that looked like it was at one point a factory, an old-timey factory, but then had been converted to a residential space. So they've improved everything, but kept that old-timey factory feel to make it a more of a luxury apartment than factory. Yeah, I think that came off pretty well. So with that motif in mind, I decided to make some of the walls brick. And I got this rubber mat from Michael's, and it was meant to be the ground for a Christmas village, that sort of cobblestone streets. But what really attracted me to it was that the mortar between the bricks is black instead of white, and you can find black mortar in brickwork in a lot of industrial sites because they don't care about how it looks, they just want it to work. And so that really, I think, sells that it was a factory, the low-key, not very pretty brickwork. But on top of that, I'm also combining that with some wainscoting, which you'll see me add here in a moment. Yeah, here we go. It looks like wood right now, but when it's done, it's going to look like the bottom part of the wall had been covered with plaster or gyprock or something like that, is to hide all of the plumbing, the electrical work, and so on. And that's to sell the idea that it's a luxury apartment, not just some place that somebody bought and converted into apartments on the cheap. So that was a Martha Stewart circle cutter that I was using to round the edge of my floor here. This is also a 1/4-inch foam board. Now, that works pretty well, but it doesn't cut quite deep enough for the 1/4-inch foam board, so I finished it off with a X-Acto knife, and that seemed to give us a nice curved edge to our floor. I just didn't like having the sharp corner out there for some reason. So to keep with the idea of this being a factory, but a refurbished factory, the floor here is walnut. I'm using walnut veneer that I've cut into strips, even strips, and I'm gluing down in lengths. And I'm using my Beacon Hill 3-in-1 glue because a water-based glue like white glue or something else would actually warp and bend the veneer. And that's mostly because the 1/4-inch foam board is not strong enough to resist that warping. If we had something like MDF or even solid wood or some foams, they would be strong enough, but because I'm using just the plain foam board, which is a pretty common material, but not very strong, it'll warp and pull away, or actually pull up the paper from the foam underneath. So we need to avoid water wherever we can. So now we're trimming some popsicle sticks, and this is going to be the basis for some furring around a window. Whenever you see a window or door frame, underneath the actual frame is some wood that makes it the right size to fit the frame, to fit the door, and that's called furring. And that's all it does, is it beefs up the hole that was in the wall to fit the correct size. And that's what I'm doing with my window. I'm using these popsicle sticks more as a support for what I'm putting on top of the foam board, because the foam board, again, is very soft and can deform and bend and pull away, so I'm adding these popsicle sticks to hold everything firm and tight. And I'm also being very careful to get them flush with the inside of the room. I am going to add trim all the way around the window later, but for that to be easy to apply, I need everything to be nice and flush, so I have one flat surface to work with instead of trying to work over some bumps, which really would be the case if you were doing this in real life in an actual old factory trying to convert it into an apartment. You'd have all kinds of problems with that. But since I'm building the factory right before I build the apartment, so to speak, I can just make everything perfect. Now here with the brickwork, I'm lining up the boards with the raised part of the bricks, and that way the trim will go on and we'll cover everything up There will be a gap there around the bricks, but it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good when it's on there. I've seen applications like that in real life as well, where there's gaps around the brickwork. Yeah, it looks pretty sharp. So I'm adding a piece of veneer there and around the edges to just give it a solid finish look, so it looks like it was a nice carpentry job, and some trim around the outside of the window as well. Get that finished carpentry in there. And it really ties everything together, makes it look nice. Yeah. I'm trying to make it look like I said, a luxury apartment, not just a simple converted space. So this trim and these baseboards are all made out of walnut veneer with some pieces of popsicle stick as support. There isn't a whole lot to them because I wanted them to be hollow, because I wanted to have lighted baseboards. That's also why they've been raised up off the floor. I've seen lighted baseboards before, and I thought they looked really cool and very modern, but I've never seen them in a space like this where it was once an industrial workshop or factory, and I thought it'd be neat to try. So I made these hollow baseboards and glued them up off the floor. Now we're adding some holes for the LEDs to go in. The LEDs that I'm going to use actually came from the dollar store. They were selling them as a string of lights with little paper cups over them for shades. And I think it's supposed to be some sort of thing that college students do, where they hang up a string of Christmas lights and put paper cups over them to try to make them look nice. I don't know. I've seen it in movies. But yeah, just took all that stuff off of there, and we just got a nice set of LEDs that run on some AAA batteries. Easy to install, easy to work with. Yeah, pretty nice. So we get all the LEDs in there, and you can see that's what the lit up baseboards look like. Not exactly what I was going for, but it still looks pretty cool. So now we're going back to the window, and I'm adding some beams that I made from bamboo skewers. And this is meant to be the framework for the window itself. The reason for the large windows is a lot of older factories would try to make use of solar light, sunlight, to light up the factory while the men were working, because electricity, light bulbs, all of that, especially in older places, were very expensive. We take it for granted that light bulbs are so cheap now, but before fluorescence, they were expensive things, and they really cost to replace them. So lots of big windows in factories meant that you didn't have to spend as much on lighting. So we're adding in some plastic here to be our glass. Get a nice look. And this is some chair rail, and it's not actual chair rail in that it's meant to keep your chairs from bumping the walls, which was the original purpose of chair rail. This is more of a decorative touch to tie the wainscoting and the brickwork together. And this is really what most chair rail is used for now, just to tie the room together. And now we're sliding in some cardstock, pure white cardstock, and that's going to be our painted wall. They painted it white to contrast with the dark brick and all the walnut there. And the door. I wanted my door to be super modern, so I went with this multi-panel design with the white peeking through. I was thinking about a design with windows, but no, I thought the white looked nicer and tied in with the rest of the room more. Still, I think the door came out pretty nice. Definitely a modern style, or ultra modern style. Gotta get that thing jammed in there real good. It was a tight fit. I actually had to sand it down after I made it to try to get it to fit. So now we're working on the doorknob, and I have this precious little faceted bead that I wanted to use as the actual doorknob. So this is just trying to make that work. So I took a finishing nail, filed it down, and that is going to be the stem of the doorknob. And we also have a little bead that is metallic and kind of looks like the part of the doorknob where it attaches to the door. Yeah, I let the nail be a little bit long so we could have a piece we can stick into the door, so to have a nice strong joint there instead of the doorknob just falling off on me in a couple months. This way it'll stay there for a very long time because it's actually physically bonded with the door. There we go, a little view of the doorknob and a pan up of those big windows. That's my little industrial loft apartment. So let me know what you think of this. I thought it came out pretty nice. There definitely were things I would do differently. I did a lot of experimenting, and it was mostly had to do with finding out what products actually are water-based. A lot of things are, and don't work very well with veneer, but yeah, this was lots of fun. Now I have to fill it with furniture, and if you'd like to see that, it'll be in an upcoming video, maybe not the next one, but further in the future. And so hit subscribe and that little bell icon down there at the bottom, and YouTube will let you know when that happens. And also, if you really like this and you want to help me make more videos, down in the description are some links to Amazon products that I use, or if you click on one of those links and buy anything at Amazon, Amazon will kick back a few cents to me, and I'll use those to make more videos for you. So in the meantime, I want to say thanks for watching. Bye-bye.